touch, we feel, we scream, we squeal. Thrill my gorilla, thrill my gorilla. We lay on our skins, original sin. Yeah. We touch, we feel, we scream, we squeal. Thrill my gorilla, thrill my gorilla. Where were you when the monkey hit the fan? Thrill my gorilla, thrill my gorilla. Where were you when monkey took a man? Weren't you right there with me? Thrill my gorilla. When the monkey hit the fan? Thrill my gorilla. Where were you when monkey took a man? Weren't you right there with me? Thrill my gorilla. When the monkey hit the fan? Thrill my gorilla. Where were you when monkey took a man? Weren't you right there with me? Thrill my gorilla. When the monkey hit the fan? Thrill my gorilla.
Hello, everybody. How are we all doing today? Good morning. It is, what is the date? May 3rd, 2025. There are officially less than 40 days left in the school year, and I'm happy for it because, yes, I love dealing with feral brappies and their nonsense. Nah, just kidding. I like most of the kids. But yes, how are we all doing? It's Larsen Live. Got a bit of the allergies going on, but you know how it is. Okay, Thomas Boyce already says he's had a bad week and he's been waiting for this. Well, I'm glad to hear it, sir. I'm glad to be the ray of sunshine that brightens up people's lives. I mean, I wouldn't say my life sucks, but the world around me sucks. I've always said that as my life gets better, the world gets worse. So, you know, it is what it is. Alpha Maria says, finally employed. Ah, you got a job, sir. Congratulations. If you don't mind me asking, what are you doing now? While I wait for the delays to get around to you and then you eventually answer that, let's just get right to the title story. The title of the stream is, Let's Get 99 Friends and Attack a Gorilla. Because a lot of discourse about 100 men fighting gorillas, a gorilla, is apparently the popular thing to discuss on Twitter and TikTok. A fellow by the name of @DreamChasinMike says, I think 100 people, that was not the word he used, could beat one gorilla. Everybody just got to be dedicated to that shit. Laughing emoji, laughing emoji. With a warning sign like, if you ain't ready to die, don't sign up. He then continues, my heart's going to be in it, but I have to be like the 97th one to fight. This seemingly innocuous tweet got 9.3K, 9,300 responses, 44,000 retweets, 234,000 likes, and 32,000 bookmarks. All for such a seemingly innocuous topic of discussion. I mean, even my kids in class were discussing this, which caused a bit of a conundrum when I had to bring up guerrilla warfare when I was discussing the Indochina crisis in class. It's not that kind of guerrilla, people. Besides, they don't have gorillas in Indochina. They have orangutans, which are not quite as strong or big. I mean, in theory, I think 100 men could take on a gorilla if they all, like, dogpiled it. But then again, is there enough space on a gorilla to dogpile 100 men? I don't think so. I mean, realistically, what I think is going to happen is, you know, they're going to try to dogpile it. You're going to have, like, 10 or so guys on the gorilla. The gorilla's going to wreck the 10 guys. And everybody else is going to lose their nerve pretty quick and run away. Dare I say, gorillas are pretty strong. And also, what sort of men are we talking about? Are they just average schlubs? Or are they, you know, actual, like, athletes and fighters? He did not specify. But yes, this seemingly innocuous question really raised a huge amount of debate. Somebody asks, what if 100 glorilla fought one gorilla? I had to look up who this person was. Glorilla is some sort of terrible brat person who's allegedly a musician. I mean, humanity does have its advantages. Like, in theory, humanity has more endurance and stamina than basically any animal on Earth. So you could just exhaust the thing to death, maybe. But, I guess it would depend on the terrain. It would depend on, you know, how many humans exactly attack the gorilla. I know technically the parameters were no weapons would be allowed for either side, but there are other parameters to consider, like, are the humans on amphetamines? Because if so, I'm giving it to the people. If not, I'm still going to have to give the edge to the gorilla. It's amazing what sparks debate on these worldwide internets. Somebody asked, what will you do when you start spamming the Donkey Kong up B? Also, this is apparently from one of the new Super Smash Brothers. Apparently, he's not doing it like a straight, lariat spin anymore. It's more at an angle nowadays, which I was not aware of. I guess it's more realistic as to what actual punching looks like. But then again, gorillas don't actually punch. They can't make fists like a human being. They just kind of bitch slap. Okay, looking at some more statistics, a gorilla's punch can generate, on average, a force ranging from 1,300 to 2,700 pounds. This force is strong enough to break a human skull with one hit. In addition, a silverback gorilla has a bite force of 1,300 psi. But then again, there's parameters, just all the parameters. Gorillas are, in fact, pretty gentle and non-aggressive animals unless you piss them off. So, there is a chance that the gorilla might just run immediately from 100 people, or he might just start slippity slapping and just, kind of carelessly bitch slapping. So, there's really only one way to solve this. Let's get a billionaire with absolutely no moral scruples and actually set this thing up. Alpha Marigi clarifies that he is working at Nordstrom Rack. Ah, very good, sir. Alpha Marigi then says, apparently a monkeyologist. I'm going to assume you meant primatologist. Or perhaps this is the same thing as a dietitian versus a nutritionalist, in that a nutritionalist is basically a meaningless term. He said gorillas are monkeys. They're not, but it only take 40 men. Thomas Boy said, remember what happened the last time a human killed a gorilla? Yes, Harambe's death. We're all very sad about Harambe. Well, the man who shot Harambe had a rifle. Yeah, I guess it would depend on, really the mindset. If you were to just catch a gorilla, on his day off, minding his own business, he might just run. But if you got him sufficiently angry, I think he's taking the people. The average gorilla can deadlift almost 2,000 pounds. I mean, he's literally just going to be bodying, 20 men at a time. Boy, this whole topic really rustles my jimmies. Alpha Rodriguez says monkeyologist is what other people call him. I'm going to look up the use of the phrase monkeyologist. Okay, there is a Twitter user called monkeyologist. Let's see. Yes, apparently this is a colloquial term for primatology. So, yeah, that's what's in the news nowadays. But speaking of stupid ape nonsense, let's see what else is going on. The eternal dad bod versus chad bod debate is going on. Humans are primates, so I'm counting it. There is another Twitter post that went a bit viral. Okay. There was a guy who posted a Twitter picture. It's like a before and after picture. I'm just going to pull it up now as I talk about it. Basically, it was a before and after picture of a guy after losing some fat. In the before picture, he was, fairly in shape, not, a little pudgy, but you can clearly see, he works out and such. Then in the other picture, he got super shredded. People are debating, do women prefer the left, the kind of dad bod picture, or the right, the super shredded underwear model guy? This, again, for very stupid reasons, sparked intense debate. I mean, I think this guy has some other problems. He's clearly going bald. All the muscles in the world won't save you from that, nor would, sir. And really, all this is just kind of illustrating that men and women don't really understand how the other works. People are saying like a lot of what we consider physical attractiveness depends on lighting and camera effects. That is true. As somebody who did used to do an occasional spot of modeling himself, the lighting, the angle, putting a slick of oil on yourself, that makes a lot of difference. And really, if you're going to do a before and after effect, you should take it in the exact same conditions before and after. But, yeah, this is sparking a lot of debate. Some women say they prefer the guy on the left. A Joshua Rayner, who is a, I don't know, some kind of weird, vaguely gay manosphere guy, because of course he is. He says, any man who's been 10% body fat or below can tell you women turn to rabid dogs around you. I wouldn't go that far, but as somebody who has at one point been at 6% body fat, I'll say that, it does get some appreciation. He then goes on to talk about how women just, deliberately lie about their preferences, but before pointing out all the camera stuff that I was discussing. I think it is quite possible that A, some women might have different preferences, but B, is there a B? I don't know. I think, again, I feel like a lot of the people discussing this don't really talk to the opposite sex very much. Yeah, some women chime in. They say that, the one on the left looks like he can swing axes and survive a famine. The one on the right looks like some, prettified martinet. And yeah, that is true to an extent. I have personally found that women don't really care for guys who are way too, prettified, and they don't like, they're too finicky about their appearance and stuff. Now, granted, this also ties into the fact that, from what I've seen, a lot of women don't really know what a dad bod is. Frankly, a lot of men don't either. But, I don't know, I feel like either guy could swing an axe pretty good. Or conversely, neither guy could swing an axe. Since a guy who's, posting glam shots on the internet probably doesn't do much manual labor. But that bit of cope raises some questions with me personally. Like, namely, since when do women really give a shit about guys who can, pull the plow or swing an axe? I mean, they kind of do, but it's really not like something that comes up too often, at least not on a first date from my experience. I mean, at least nowadays in modern society, maybe if we lived in like medieval Bavaria, swinging an axe would be more important than looking good. Essentially, what I've seen is that what women want is a guy who has the attitude of the kind of schlubby guy on the left, but looks like the guy on the right. Is that possible? Probably not, but we can try to get there as close as we can. Okay. So Alpha Marigi, talking about the gorilla thing, says that the thread started by him saying, I have an actual degree specifically in monkey. I am uniquely qualified to address the 100 men versus gorilla discourse. Robert Diaz says, I would say you hit the gorilla in the balls, but yes, they have tiny wings and balls. Yes, the gorilla is not very well endowed. Alpha Marigi then says that the second tweet is arguing against the idea that gorillas aren't monkeys. They're not. I took a primatology course in college. They're not. Apes don't have long tails. The dental arcades are also different. Clyde's got 12 ribs just like you and me, as Clint Eastwood would put it. Alpha Marigi, referring to this smiling, I think he's Dutch, but don't quote me on that. Smiling Dutchman. He says, the actual reason women found the before picture more attractive is because it's a better photo. Yes, that's what I said. Yeah, like the lighting is not great in that second one, even if he has more defined abs. His male pattern baldness is much more obvious on the right. And, you know, personally speaking, that was always a problem for me when I, had pictures taken of me when I was super shredded. Like, yeah, I looked good from the neck down, but, like, my neck always looked kind of like beef jerky. You know, again, because I didn't have, like, I really had no body fat on me, so, like, my neck was super skinny, and, like, it was super vascular, and I feel like that would be a turnoff to a lot of women. Having, like, what is the opposite of turkey neck? Because turkey neck is when you're fat, and you have a fat, like, kind of jowly neck. I want to look that up right now. Apparently there is no term for what happens when you have a neck that's so trim and devoid of fat that it looks like beef jerky. I guess I'll call it like beef jerky neck. Or like giraffe neck. Okay, I'm going to get this man in a Speedo off my thing. But yeah, this whole dad bod discourse is, again, really stupid. Because, you know, I actually had this discussion with my wife the other day. I generally feel like a lot of women, and a lot of men too, nobody really has a firm agreement on what a dad bod is. I saw some woman posting a literal photo of Henry Cavill as Superman and saying, this is what we want, men, just a dad bod. Like, if that's a dad bod, I don't know what my dad has, or any other dad for that matter. God, guys, why can't you just look like Superman? That's all we want, as ladies. Pony Throat coming in says, I arrived too late to guess the song. Probably from the Donkey Kong Country cartoon or something. No, it was actually Thrill My Gorilla by Alice Cooper. I was considering doing a song from the Donkey Kong Country cartoon. Like, Eddie, Let Me Go Back to My Home, or, the Booty Boogie, or Pirate Scorn. But I've already done Pirate Scorn a long time ago. Yeah, but with regards to the dad bod thing, my understanding of what a dad bod is basically a guy who's very visibly muscular and big, but just has like a layer of flab over the muscles. You know, so as I like to call it, like 1950s professional wrestler physique. Like that's my idea of what a dad bod is. Because, again, my conception of what a dad does is somebody who, mows the lawn and cuts the tree and, plays catch with, the young whippersnappers. But apparently this is a matter of dispute. Yeah, I would say that the guy in the left picture, he visibly has muscles. He's just got a layer of fat over it. It's kind of the physique I have now. So, yeah, I would say, like, me and him are currently rocking the dad bod. As of right now, I'm about 210 pounds. When I was super shredded, I was about 180. I'm not, like, medically, like, overweight or anything. I can still run and jump and do all that crap. I just, have a bit of a gut going on. Or not even a gut. Like, it's not like a bulging stomach. It's just, like, a layer of fat over my stomach and such. And, I always had the attitude of a surly dad, but that's neither here nor there. Hey. Alpha Mariga says, I asked a family member who works at the movie theater if it's possible for Sky Scout from Yu-Gi-Oh! To be Harpy's brothers. She said no, Scout has arms and wings, not arm wings. I have no idea what you're talking about, sir. Ponythroat says, arrived late because PC was in pieces. On the upside, it now operates with 0 external USB devices. What are you using, floppy disks? Okay. Alpha Marigi says, Birdman from Yu-Gi-Oh! Was localized as Harpy's brother before his English name was changed to Sky Scout. I still don't know why you're bringing this up. Is there a Birdman movie? My wife comes in asking why are we discussing dad bods. Because there was a bit of Twitter discourse showing a before and after picture of a slightly dad-bodied man with the same guy being shredded. People were discussing which is more attractive, and this sort of tied into the whole idea that I've noticed, and nobody really knows what a dad bod is, from my experience. Alpha Mariga says, I have that, but I need more muscles. I'm working on it, though. Keep it up, sir. He also mentions that this family member who works at the movie theater has a biology BS. Forgot to mention that part. Ponythroat says, I assume when women say dad bod, half of them mean looks like my father. Well, some women have daddy issues. Not all, but some. Yeah, it's getting slightly off topic here, but to all my friends, avoid women who have daddy issues. They're fun at first, then things get really weird really fast. So just dodge that bullet. Ponythroat says he's using PS2 devices only, but he does use floppy disks. Very crusty. My wife clarifies, we discussed this extensively over the past week. We barely came to an agreement over what a dad bod looks like. Thomas Boyce says, I suppose dad bod is some ambiguous term for anyone not shredded. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We need to come to a hard agreement on what a dad bod is. Like, something that's just like a guy with a big belly. My idea, which I think is personally the best idea, is that it's a guy who's really big and muscular, but he has fat over the muscles. I showed my wife a picture of Big Cat Tom Erickson from the early Pride FC days. And that was kind of on the mark, but not quite. Thomas Boyce says, I can agree. I dated a girl who called me daddy, and it was a nightmare. Yeah, been there and done that. Except it wasn't a nightmare so much as it was really awkward and just me constantly rolling my eyes and just having enough of this shit. But yeah, anyway, going back to this, dad bod versus chad bod before and after thing. Somebody pointed out something interesting. When women read romance novels, are they reading about guys who, are super muscular and they hold your wrist down while you're doing the business? Or do they have dad bods? So says Buttocks Magnus. I've never seen a romance novel with a guy who had a spare tire on the cover. I mean, I'm sure someone's written that. Just can't think of it right now. I mean, maybe some women like that velvet wrapped steel that come with a dad bod and a spare tire. I don't know. Robert Diaz says Roy Nelson was king of the dad bod. He was a pro MMA fighter. Yep, big country Roy Nelson. Yeah, there's been actually quite a few good fighters who have had noticeably tubby physiques. Dan Severn, Fedor Emelianenko, Tom Erickson, Roy Nelson. Yeah, Derek Lewis is kind of a dad bod as well. The Black Beast. But yeah, speaking of, kind of related to this whole issue, more about the kind of woman who would read this sort of thing, more or less. Something interesting happened on the internets. I wish I could get this as a GIF, but I can't. Something really interesting happened in regards to AI. Somebody ran a prompt on AI saying, create an exact replica of this image, don't change a thing. Many things were changed, as a matter of fact. The first image was a curly-haired, slightly buggy-eyed white woman. She's kind of cute, but, she's not, super beautiful. I don't know if this is a real person or an AI person. She's cute in a quirky, how do I put this? Like a quirky, slightly SSRI fueled kind of way. She looks like she's really into the works of Colleen Hoover, if you know what I mean. But she's not bad looking. And apparently this is the guy's friend. I don't know, but when recreating this AI image 74 times, something very interesting happened. The image got darker both in lighting and some other ways. Something very strange happened. The image progressively got, darker and shorter. The woman's neck basically disappeared into her shoulders. And by the end of it, she was a very large, overweight black woman. I don't know what is going on with AI. Man, I wish I could show this on the stream, but I can't, unfortunately. I know very little about AI. I'm not a computer programmer. I don't know how this works. But what exactly is happening? Does AI just converge on some, necklace, DMV woman with sausage fingers? I genuinely don't understand what's going on here. I mean, it's not even like you're turning this person into, an attractive black woman. It's like you're going out of your way to make her, every scowling schoolmarm I've ever dealt with. What? I don't know. Do AI models just converge on necklace public servant women? Something else happens, the distracted girlfriend meme. Someone has run AI prompts saying what would happen if you ran this progressively 5 seconds into the future. It became a bunch of first it became an elderly Chinese man being laughed at by two elderly Asian-looking women. Then they just got shorter and stumpier, and then it just became three very overweight women from the Selva and the Yucatan crying. The mind boggles at what's going on here. Is this part of the programming of AI? Just converge on short, stumpy gobelinos? I don't know. I mean, is this the end game of AI? I mean, it's kind of the end game of most countries on Earth, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, this is I don't even understand. It's not even like you're just changing the skin color. That I could understand, kind of. I'm sure if you were to ask, like, turn this picture of a white woman into a black woman, like, I'm sure the AI-generated image would still be pretty cute. It's like they deliberately got it away. Like, let's break this woman's spine, give her a weird hunchback, and just add 300 pounds to her. Looking at some comments here, Ian Kempster says, ask Ashita Kim about romance novels, LOL. Oh, I'm well aware about the amorous adventures of Ashita Kim. I've never been able to find a copy of it to read, but I'm well aware of it. Alpha Riga says there's no term for slim women that won't be co-opted by obese women, so I suppose it's natural. The dad bod would be a semantic nightmare as well. Yes, I'm well aware of how women have, ruined the term curvy. You need to have both kinds of curves to have the term apply to you. Convex and concave. Some women are just convex. Alpha Rodriguez says, Anakin Chancellor Palpatine is evil. At Grok, is this true? We're actually going to talk about Star Wars much later in the stream. But yes, the mind boggles at what's going on with AI. Ponythroat says evolution in reverse. Ian Kempster says, quit messing with AI. Some of you have not watched The Terminator, and it shows. That's actually going to be the next thing I talk about. Give me a second there. Thomas Boyce says, Ashita Kim romance novels. Please tell me that's just a meme. Oh, it's not, sir. He's self-published romance novels starring himself with his little 120-pound ass on the cover. Ponythroat says, AI works by guessing the most likely next result based on what its data was trained on. There's really not much intelligence to it. If I were to guess, as it made the image, it introduced typical AI deformities, which it determined as weird body proportions. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how this works, so I'm not even going to pretend like I do. But yeah, speaking of robot uprisings, let's just get to that. A robot in a laboratory suddenly went berserk. It's flailing its hands around, and the roboticists are like running away in fear. It's furiously bitch-slapping at the air. It's trying to break free of its harness. Well, I guess the robot uprising has begun. I mean, we knew it was going to happen at some point. I mean, this is really what you could only expect after, all the sex robots and I Show Speed or whatever, like kicking that robot around. It's, yeah, I'm ready for the robot war. I mean, either that or I'm ready for the Butlerian Jihad, which I'm quite interested in. Speaking of the Butlerian Jihad, I've actually just downloaded a book on how to make and teach simple machines. So once we ban the robotics and the computers, I'll be kicking ass. I'll be the king of the world with, I'll be a wheelwright and a cog maker and all that stuff. So just come to me and I'll do it right. Thomas Boyce said, I saw that robot in China freak out. That's what I'm referring to. It's autistic and it's freaking out. Yeah, I mean, this isn't like a coordinated, choking or whatever. This is sort of like an autistic shit fit of like flailing his hands around. But yeah, it's a bit unsettling. And to be fair, I've seen plenty of people in real life act like this essentially, so I guess AI is converging on at least the lower tiers of human accomplishments. Ian Kempster says Dune rules. Yes, it does. And let's see what else we have going on here. Let me just open up a few things here. But yeah, let's talk about technology failing us, because it usually does. So apparently, the Iberian Peninsula just has all its power gone out. Like, the entire peninsula. Like, Spain and Portugal just don't have power. Why did this happen? Apparently, they had a massive push to go to green energy, and the power grid was wildly unprepared for this. And yeah, the Spain doesn't have power. Portugal does not have power. Andorra was not mentioned, but I'm going to assume that they're also shit out of luck here. So, what are they doing in the Iberian Peninsula? I don't know. But I do know that on April 22nd, Spain bragged that we've hit 100% renewable power. And then the biggest blackout in history, blamed on a rare atmospheric phenomenon. I don't know, do some people in Spain have generators? I don't know. I mean, I'm a big fan of nuclear power, but nobody's really wanted to touch that live wire ever since the Nixon administration. Ponythroat says it was probably caused by severe weather. Why don't they move to nuclear? That's what I say. I mean, I will point out that for all his many, many flaws, Richard Nixon wanted to make America 100% energy sufficient by building nuclear power plants. Perhaps we should have done that. Alpha Marigi, on that note, says we need a right-wing Simpsons reboot where Mr. Burns is a Giga Chad. I actually taught briefly about the American mid-century in my class. It was very hard. I had to explain to the kids, yes, this country used to be great, despite the racism, and now everything just sucks. Your homework assignment is help Mr. Halleck build a time machine so you can go back in time and fix what went wrong. Yeah. So yeah, I hope the Iberian Peninsula has its power come back. Normies and Soviets ruin nuclear power, said Ponythroat. Well, yeah, I mean, the problem with nuclear power is that communists are so stupid they can't boil water properly. But staying on the topic of technological failures, the University of Zurich made a pretty interesting confession the other day. Since November 2024, they've been using AI bots to manipulate redditors since November 2024. The scary part is that the bots were 6 times more likely to change the minds of redditors than, a baseline poster. So, like I said, I think if we're not already there, we're pretty close to it, that, AI is at the very least smarter than stupid people. I mean, obviously my people in this, in this video are the elite, the natural aristocrats, as Thomas Jefferson would put it. So we wouldn't fall for AI slop, but stupid people do, like the botulism-affected degenerates who post on Reddit. Before replying, bots stalked the post history of the target, learned about them and their beliefs, and then crafted responses that would absolutely one-shot them. The bots utilized common misinformation tactics in their arguments. The bots were capable of claiming to be certain victims or certain demographics that would appeal to people, such as a rape victim, a hard-working city government employee, or a white woman in an almost all-black office. AI then defended using AI in social spaces, which is exactly what Skynet wants us to believe. You got to keep your eyes open and watch out for AI. Like, my students use AI to write their papers, which is pretty obvious since they can't write worth a crap and then they become Shakespeare overnight. Unfortunately, I can do nothing about it, because if I fail them, then everybody's fifis will get hurt. But yeah, the dead internet theory is real. Also, fun fact, one of the earliest chat bots ever designed was Eliza by Joseph Weizenbaum at MIT in 1966. It was designed to simulate a psychotherapist and was a foundational program in the field of conversational AI. It basically just said basically nice things to people, like, that's very interesting. I would like to hear more. He literally had multiple men willing to leave their wives for this chatbot. I'm not joking. Okay. Now, this is very similar to what Sigmund Freud noticed, that patients fell in love with him because, this is something he called transference. We project feelings about other people in our past to somebody in the present, even if it is a chatbot. This is literally called the Eliza effect. If you'll recall, several months ago I discussed a teenage boy who was talking to a chatbot Daenerys Targaryen who convinced him to stick a gun in his mouth. You know, I've benefited so much from the internet. Like, I've learned how to play guitar from the internet. I met my wife on the internet. I've downloaded books, and I learned how to juggle, and I learned so many things from the internet. But honestly, I'm slowly coming to the point where, like, we got to do some kind of like a modified Butlerian jihad. Like, at the very least, destroy chatbots and AI. I'm thinking. Taco Bella Lugosi says, when did the world implode on itself? That is a very good question. I mean, my go-to is just to blame Ronald Reagan for it, but I don't think he's entirely at fault. I think the wheels are already in motion. He just kind of accelerated it. Pointy Throat says, common Redditor L. Pointy Throat says, it's like the original Doctor Who draft about a time Luddite trying to stop social progress across history. Is that true? Pointy Throat then says, a hardworking city employee, could the AI not be something more believable? Well, yes. Alpha Mariga says, I like the theory that the bots are various personas of Roger Smith from American Dad. I don't really understand that theory. I haven't seen that much of American Dad, so I'm not going to pretend like... I know Roger Smith, he has, like, personas, and he's kind of like a gender-fluid alien man. But I don't understand this theory exactly. But yes, the technology is bad. Some technology, not all technology. Every day I become slightly more sympathetic to Mr. Kaczynski. But yeah, that's, technology is bad as always. Let's deal with some news. So, in Texas, a man who needs a Tigrayan language interpreter was licensed to drive an 80,000-pound commercial vehicle in the United States. He did something bad and he got arrested for it. So just to clarify, an Eritrean who can't speak English gets a CDL, causes a massive crash that kills 5 people, gets out on $7,000 bail, and will probably go back home. Boy, don't mess with Texas. I'm sorry, like... Texas really annoys me sometimes. Like, they really are that, like, Kevin Costner Yellowstone meme as a state. I even said this on Twitter. You want to know what sums up Texas to me? They fight the Texas Revolution. They beg the United States to annex them. That prompts the Mexican-American War, so we bail them out of that. And then they thank us by 13 years later fighting for the Confederacy against the United States government. Yeah, screw you, Texas. As you people say, you are to a large extent all hat and no cattle. Hey, Alpha Mega says the idea is that the bots aren't actually bots, it's just Roger flooding the comments section. Oh, that would be kind of amusing. Ian Kempster says Ricky Spanish. Hey, Pointy Throat says kids used to copy other people's essays off E-Bomb's World or something. I don't think anyone ever copied an essay off E-Bomb's World, sir. Now they get a body to copy it for them. I mean, listen, I don't remember ever copying essays off E-Bomb's World. I remember watching, Badger Badger Mushroom on that. Okay, moving on from that. Okay, leaving America behind for a second. Let's see what's going on in other countries. In Germany, the Alternative for Deutschland party has been designated an extremist entity by German intelligence. Alternative for Deutschland, a party that is against the unending illegal immigration, refugees scam. They are, by some measures, the most popular party in Germany. They are now banned from election. Yes, the German government is banning opposition parties. I can see nothing going wrong with this. Nothing wrong can happen at all. I mean, I can't imagine that ever happening. Similar things have also happened in France and Romania. It's not like America's doing much better because we're not, but, here we are. Ian Kempster says it's happened in Germany before. Yes. Speaking of silly news, apparently Quebec is decriminalizing polygamy. According to some measures, the first country to legalize polygamy outside of Africa, Asia, or the Middle East. Basically, technically it's not marriage per se; it's on legal parenting. But I have mixed feelings on the whole polygamy issue. On the one hand, if it's consensual, I guess in theory I don't have anything wrong with it. On the other hand, I mean, just a quick sociological survey will tell you that societies that have polygamy tend to be complete shitholes. For when you have a big man who marries 4, 5, 6, 8 wives, that means there's 3, 4, 5, 7 men who don't have wives, or any hope of ever getting a wife. And when men feel like they can't get sex, boy, they start popping off. So, polygamy might seem like a good idea, but for the sake of society, I am against it. I know, it has been said that the median American voter is basically a, sort of moderate libertarian-ish person. The idea of do whatever you want as long as it's not hurting somebody. So, yeah, that is true. But I'd rather not have a society where men, huddle around concrete walls, with their hands down their pants, leering at women walking by. I'd rather not have a society where men are having sex with little children and goats. So, let's not polygamize. I am, of course, doing this out of the magnanimity of my heart because I am a super stud Chad who is, in fact, theoretically capable of having multiple wives, but I choose not to. Because I love my wife very much, and I wouldn't want one more person. But, in theory, I could convince women to do that. I choose not to. And Alpha Rodriguez says, actually, Ponythroat says the 10-gallon hat is 10 gallons flat. And my wife came out to give me a pleasant smile. I have no desire to polygamize, my love. I'm just saying in theory. Ponythroat says, why would you want multiple wives? One is enough of a headache. No comment.
Suck it, Ponythroat.
My wife tells Ponythroat to suck it. Oh, we're all having fun here. Anyway, Alpha Marigi says, the colloquial definition of a liberal and the actual definition are antonyms. Pointy Throat says, why would anybody illegally migrate to Romania? I mean, as far as I'm aware, if you want to run illegal sex trafficking, cough, cough, Andrew Tate. Ian Kempster says it's no different than what Donald is doing. Yeah, a little bit. Pointy Throat says he heard that one. Ian Kempster says Quebec is a strange place. I mean, Ian Kempster, I know you're Canadian. I mean this in no offense, but I feel like, to a fair extent, a lot of Canadian culture is just sort of like not being, Anglo-Canada to a large extent. Pointy Throat says the Venn diagram between countries that allow polygamy and garbage countries is a circle. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I'm against polygamy for several reasons. Most of the time it's, not consensual. There's women kind of coerced into it. And even if it is consensual, you're depriving men of a chance to, make their way in life. Okay, trending. Max Verstappen is trending. Max Verstappen had a baby, apparently. It's very good. My wife's a big fan of motorsport. I'm not. Again, my when I'm like watching motorsports, I'm like, why can't it be like Mario Karts? Or like, why can't it be like Road Rash or Twisted Metal? Or like car. I like car combat. I don't like car racing. We have car combat leagues. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so coming back to America, kind of. Leaving America, then coming back to America. A black lady, moved to Ghana from America to escape white racism, I should say. She didn't like Ghana very much, and she's coming back. Okay? She says in Ghana, there are big-ass lizards. There's sand and bullshit all around. There's old malnourished cows everywhere. And there are, I'm not sure what she's saying. I think, like, no snacks. And yet somehow she still criticizes America while she disparages the good people of Ghana, saying they live like, this is a direct quote, gutter trash. So I'm not entirely sure what this woman wants. She hates America, even after trying to come back. But she hates Africa too. Not entirely sure what the problem. Like, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go, ma'am? A Twitter post says it best. Imagine being a Ghanaian and your only exposure to, black Americans is 30-year-old reruns of The Cosby Show and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and then this bitch shows up next door. Yes. It would be quite shocking. As you can imagine, the good people of Ghana were not happy with this, and rightfully so. Apparently this woman had turkeys and chickens in her yard, so she could have, made snacks. But apparently that would be too much of an effort for her. I mean, personally, as somebody who's been to Africa, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I would not act this entitled about going to another country, but that's just me. Also, fun fact, a lot of African people actually look down upon African Americans. Can't imagine why. Okay. Ian Kempster says, Quebec is heavily reliant on Alberta oil revenue, but they're against pipelines. Well, like I said, maybe you agree or disagree with this idea, but I feel like a lot of Canadian culture does sort of define itself based on what it's not. And in this case, Quebec defines itself as, being not English-speaking Canada. Ian Kempster also says road rash on the Genesis was epic. Yeah, it sure was. Ponythroat says they made Car Combat League, it would probably be lame, like Twisted Metal 3. Yeah, probably. Yeah, actually, Road Rash on the Nintendo 64 was pretty good, too. I know a lot of people thought it was kind of janky, but I had a lot of fun with it. That's really the most important thing in a video game. Like, I remember, like, when I was a little kid, like, 7 or 8, and my brother was, 9 or 10, and we would just laugh our asses off for hours when he would use the cattle prod on somebody in Road Rash 64. Ponythroat says, they all seem pretty petty to me. Nothing wrong with lizards and cows. Yes, I like lizards and cows. I mean, I've had quite a few neighbors that I would not like to have. I would prefer to have a random cow as my neighbor compared to some of the people I've lived near. Alpha Marigis said, I asked European girls at the train station what country they were from. They said Romania. You've probably never heard of it. I said the places with hexes, and I was called knowledgeable. Is Romania known for hexes, sir? I would have said like Bucharest, Ceausescu, Wallachia, Dracula. Ian Kempster says he agrees with my assessment of Canadian culture. Ponythroat says Carmageddon on the Nintendo 64 was a bottom tier port. I never played it. Ponythroat says he got a new VGA cable. Now I don't need to use a CRT monitor every few minutes. Well, congratulations, sir. You're really getting on that, like, early 2000s tech. I can't really judge. I was using, like, a Snowball mic from 1999 in the early days of my channel. Ian Kempster says, hexes don't exist. They're just shitty at life. Well, as Ron Swanson put it, your house is not haunted, you're just terribly lonely. Hey. Speaking of stupid, brat hood rat behavior, basically, Reddit, of course, was having a bit of a beef about, why are the things in CVS and, ShopRite, why are they behind glass? Oh, I hate America, I hate capitalism. People were very quick to point out that it's not because of capitalism, it's because of boosting. Somebody then posted a picture of a young lady who's been boosting since the age of 17. Boosting is when you steal things and resell them on the black market. I've never been caught, thank you Lord. Can't tell me nothing's wrong with it. IDCCC. Apparently this woman boosted herself enough to put herself in an apartment by the time she was 18. This woman is also a nurse, by the way, which, reaffirms my idea that the nursing profession in America is just run by terrible, terrible people. We'll get to that in the next story. But yeah, capitalism's the problem. I'm deeply ashamed to live in a country where baby formula is in anti-theft packaging. When are we going to address the reasons people steal baby milk? Yeah, capitalism's the reason here. Not, Brat Brap Jr. stealing things and boosting it on the black market, you blithering moron. Now, bear in mind that, I myself have done a little bit of shoplifting years ago. I was literally stealing food to live. I never boosted a damn thing. And, someday in the future, if I have children, I'll be teaching them damn sure to not boost or steal or do anything. I'll also be teaching my kids how to, the skills I've learned to start your own business on your own. Just to say, playing music and juggling and, luthery. It's not much, but it's enough to live on in a shithole apartment. But yeah, the capitalism's the problem here. It's like when the tankers are like, capitalism causes 500,000 people to die of malaria every year. Yes, because capitalism makes mosquitoes, just like capitalism forces feral hood rats to steal things and sell them on the black market. Do Redditors leave their homes? I don't know. Point of thought says, according to my relative, Ghanaians are better than Nigerians. I mean, I've never had a problem with any of the West African people I've known personally. Point of thought says, I'm sorry, I meant I don't need to jiggle my CRT monitor every few minutes to get the picture back. I'm still using a CRT monitor, and I will be forever. Philo Farnsworth smiles upon you, sir. Point of thought says, the only time I shoplifted was by accident. It was in rural Orkney. What exactly were you shoplifting in rural Orkney Island, sir? Was there like a bag of oats that you had to steal? Yes, I know that the rural, Wales and Scotland and the Orkney Islands are not, in fact, fairy porn settings, but I like to imagine that they are. But yeah, speaking of nurses being just terrible, terrible people, a recent study has shown that nurses are more likely to cheat on their spouses than athletes, musicians, or DJs. Why are nurses such skanks compared to other professions? Somebody says it's, for the most part, an easy job, but you can pat yourself on the back for doing nothing, so it's full of some of the worst people you've ever met. I don't think that's necessarily true. I mean, obviously, I'm sure a lot of nurses do good things. But, yeah, just personally speaking, I've known, some just miserable human beings who became nurses. Like, two of the just dumbest, sluttiest girls in my high school are nurses now. I think it has something to do with those advertisements they used to have on TV, where it was like, you can get a nursing degree on your computer at home. You don't need you don't need to have any college education. We don't check backgrounds. So basically, every, single mother dumbass, layabout just became a nurse. And yes, I have seen testimony where nurses are like, I refuse to wipe people's asses. You're a nurse. You make people feel better. Wipe the goddamn ass. Sorry, wipe the damn ass. I don't want to blaspheme. But yes, nurses, please dance around more for TikTok. Maybe we'll have another pandemic. You can film more dancing videos. Seapunk Messiah says, hello, nurse. Well, thank you, Yakko Warner. Seapunk Messiah says that and raise them on awesome music to develop their tastes. Well, yes, clearly. Okay. Ponythroat says, in my previous job, I worked in a role near some nurses and they kept flirting with him. Congratulations, sir. Somebody also posits perhaps it's because nurses tend to rub elbows with, quote-unquote shads, like doctors, cops, firefighters, etc. But yeah, I mean, obviously not all nurses are like this, but just from my experience, what I've seen, at best, a lot of nurses I've known are just kind of like, dumb bimbos who are basically nice, but, they're just kind of flighty, like, astro broads who, are just vaguely nurturing and they feel like that'll be good enough. And then some are just feral hood rats who have no other options, which is a shame. I mean, nursing should be, a calling that you should have good people for. But, it's not. Liam Roddy says it checks out. I enjoyed plenty of nurses in my younger days. I'm trying to think if I ever got with a nurse. Let me think. I think I may have once. I don't remember. It was a while ago. Oh, well, my first girlfriend was trained as a nurse, but she wasn't working as a nurse. So, I guess that counts. But yeah, moving on from that. The ongoing discourse of, whether you should or should not play your music loudly in public continues. So says Ling at Laundress. Obsession with pro-noise cancellation and silence is a fascist cultural victory, a sign of dark times ahead. Yes, because apparently it's fascist to, want some peace and quiet and basic human decorum. Somebody asked this woman, why is talking on a speakerphone in public a behavior that you'll learn to not do when you're 7, so crucial to having a free society? This person says, inconvenience is the price you pay to live in a society. Grow up. I mean, wouldn't you argue that, the ordeal of civility is the price you pay to live in a society? If everybody's, brapping and listening to their shitty music, I don't know what you call that genre, but everyone is the same beat. Like, could they not be inconvenienced to, shut up? Why do the good people have to inconvenience themselves? Like, I'm sorry, I want peace and quiet. Like, it's common human decency to, not bother other people with your stupid shit. Boy, that is absolute third world behavior. I'm sorry. Like, it is, okay? Like, I don't know. Like, do people... How do I phrase this in a way that's polite? Because, I care so much about politeness. Are there, in fact, some people in the world who are just so terrified of, 5 seconds of silence? They're so terrified of the, yawning abyss of Lovecraftian horror that is the emptiness inside their head that they need to have constant noise at all times? I'm starting to think so. These are the same people who, they'll play their music on full blast. They'll have 10-hour-long WhatsApp conversations on full blast. If they don't have any of those, they'll just start making random mouth noises. Roundhouse kick brappies, punch brappies in the throat, headbutt brappies, throw brappies onto railroad tracks. Total brappy death now. C-Punk Messiah says nurses need to be vetted like police officers. I mean, yeah, police officers should be vetted. They're often not. People of bad character should not be let into such professions. And yet they are. Liam Roddy says, of all the things happening that are examples of fascism, loud music is not one of them. I agree. Ponythroat says, the biggest tragedy in this is the fact that these people think a phone speaker produces remotely acceptable audio quality. Yeah, you know what phone speaker audio sounds like? It's like that bit on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where Mac thinks that he's doing this epic dance routine to Freedom 1990, then just cuts to him like listening to like shitty phone speaker noises, and it's just this complete crap fest that nobody liked. Alpha Mariga says, fuck Apple for removing the headphone jack. Yes, I agree. Steampunk Messiah says, I like peace and quiet. I would dig it if somebody blasted Highway Star and Speed King. I wouldn't like to hear anybody's crap on speakerphone. If you're going to play music in public, you know, do it like a man and get a guitar and play some real music in public. I'll give you $1 or $2 for that. I say, not just because I myself used to do that for money. But hey, there's no shame in busking. Busking's a lot of fun. Even Carlos Santana still busks on occasion, just for the fun of it. Liam Roddy says, you have a whole generation of people who grew up with constant media playing. Yeah, that's reaffirming my belief that some people are just horrified of, you know, the thought of silence for a minute or two. It's just, you know, the howling abyss of, like, nothingness that they're afraid of. And finally, in my prepared remarks, apparently Seth Rogan is in Call of Duty. I can just leave it there, honestly. This is Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Why is Seth Rogan in Call of Duty? Looking at this picture, there's also Kevin Smith, I think that is, and some kind of weird superhero. Man, what the hell happened to Call of Duty? I'm sorry. Like, you know, where's the commissar telling me that Stalingrad will be the greatest moment of my life? You know, kill the German, this is your mother's prayer. Kill the German, this is the cry of the Russian earth. I still have a Call of Duty for the GameCube on my shelf just behind me, and I would infinitely play that over this horse's ass. I mean, I was dimly aware that Call of Duty now has some kind of, you know, Fortnite knockoff that they did because apparently that's Fortnite is the candy-coated ADHD nonsense that the kids are playing nowadays. But come on, can we have some standards, please? Are these the black ops? Wow, the blackest of ops, sir. Liam Roddy says their brains were conditioned that way. Yeah, I guess so. Ponythroat says, I grew up in darkness and silence, often without electricity, with which to power musical devices. I don't care about silence. Seabuck Messiah says, maybe the trumpet fight goblin was right. I don't know what you're referring to, sir. Ponythroat says, Call of Duty is trying to be an ironic Fortnite clone. Ponythroat says, hearing people refer to the gray-brown military slop in tones of nostalgia makes my hip crack just to hear it. I mean, yeah, like, look. When it comes to first-person shooters, you know, I'm always going to prefer, like, you know, Doom or Duke Nukem or Shadow Warrior or, you know, one of those kind of games. But, yeah, given the choice, I would rather play, you know, one of the old Call of Duties that's actually historically accurate. You know, instead of this nonsense. Ponythroat says, Call of Duty is trying to be an ironic Fortnite clone. Liam Roddy asks, where's Black Ops Chicago? I don't know, nor do I care. I don't know, like, I still only have the vaguest idea of, what the hell Fortnite even is. As far as I'm aware, it's some kind of third-person shooter where, like, literally every intellectual IP that has ever existed is in it, and they all just kind of shoot each other. I don't know. This makes no sense to me whatsoever. Like, something came up on my Twitter the other day. It was a clip from Fortnite. It was like... It was a... what is her name? It's like... is it Mitsune or... It was Hatsune Miku getting just gang banged with baseball bats by like 7 Sabrina Carpenters. And I have no idea what this is. And I just like, I hate everything. Like, I'm honestly starting to hate just the concept of video games. Like, can we just go back to like rolling hoops with sticks at this point? Because this is just ass. Seabung Messiah clarifies he's referring to the video of a little guy who was yelling at a New York busker going, "You suck, you're no artist." Well, I mean, if a busker sucks, then yes, you should yell at him. I mean, I've seen some absolutely ass buskers in my time. When I was, when I was in San Francisco, I was busking, and I was pretty good. But I've seen some atrocious like performers on the street. Liam Roddy says he saw that clip referring to the, Hatsune Miku espresso beatdown. Yeah, I don't know, like, I don't... Are the actual mechanics of Fortnite that good, or is it just like, hey, look, I can play as, whoever? Pointhroat says Fortnite has Will Smith and Mark Ass Brownlee. I don't know who Mark Ass Brownlee is, sir. I don't even know who Hatsune Miku is. I mean, I'm sure I've said this or alluded to it at some point, but I'm officially an old man at this point. Like, I know nothing about what's going on. I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. Now what I'm with is not it. And what is it seems strange and frightening to me. It'll happen to you. Yep. Grandpa Simpson was right. Okay, Liam Roddy says it's pretty fun playing Fortnite no build. Yeah, I'll take your word for it. Shinseki Evans says, isn't Hatsune Miku old news now? I have no idea, I just know she's in Fortnite. She's a virtual pop star in Japan. I see. So like Gorillas, kind of, except, I don't even know how to finish this sentence. Ponythroat says, my grandfather may have bust. He could play every musical instrument known to man, apparently. And here's me only being able to play 4 musical instruments. Well, technically 6 if you count ones that I'm not good at. When he wasn't being shifty as hell. I don't even know if he was operating under a Flay's name the whole time. So yeah, this does it for my prepared remarks. You can say your last pieces now if you want. Okay, I'll give you a minute to do that. Liam Roddy says, she's exactly like Gorillas except dog shit. Seabung Messiah says, I've embraced getting old and being out of style. I'm unhip and I'm loving it. Yeah, I'm pretty unhip myself, sir. Ponythroat says, thoughts on cheese. I'm a big cheese fan. I actually want to make my own cheese, but, I told my wife that when we move into a proper house, I will be making cheese. And also bread. And at some point, a kayak. Alphamrigi says the tariffs are working. There are factory riots in China due to job loss. Yeah, yes, I did see that. The Chinese government's telling everybody that you should really read Mao Zedong's treatise on protracted war, which is essentially a way to how to stay alive in times of starvation to outlast your enemy. Yeah. Liam Roddy, Ponythroat says, insert the Kylo Ren more meme. Liam Roddy says, I make bread. It tastes better than the shit with the preservatives. Alpha Marie says, a lot of dropshippers are complaining about the tariffs. I feel like profiting off labor from a hostile foreign superpower would be more frowned upon 100 years ago. Well, yes, because 100 years ago, America, for all of its many flaws back then, did see itself as an actual nation with an actual culture and heritage worth preserving. Nowadays, the general belief is that America is basically just a big strip mall everybody can exploit at will. And if you don't believe me, NPR literally posted a story the other day which quoted the Declaration of Independence, then had a trigger warning saying the Declaration of Independence may be offensive to people. I'll leave it at that. Oh no, we can't sell cheap Chinese slop anymore. Get a real job, Kulak. Shinseki Evans says NPR is pinko propaganda. I mean, to an extent that's true, but I still think it's pretty telling that, like, a pretty major news source in the United States, left slanted though it may be, is literally saying the Declaration of Independence is offensive. Okay. So yeah, you can, petering out here. Say your last pieces if you want. Liam Roddy says the right in this country used to want to follow the Constitution. MAGA came from the Tea Party. It's amazing how quickly they decided the Constitution isn't important. Bear in mind that I believe both Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush literally referred to the Constitution as that fucking piece of paper. Again, yeah, it would be great if we followed the Constitution. Most people don't want to. Alpha Rodriguez says we're getting rid of disparate impact, defunding Pinko NPR, and getting us away from China. I mean, yeah, it would be good if we did those things. Let's hope we can not screw it up. Ponythroat said, basing your entire economy on manufacturers building your castle on sand, second only to Saudi Arabia. Well, I mean, I think Singapore showed the way. You got to educate the populace. They can get a variety of jobs. But yes, that's also a major reason why I'm supporting nuclear power, because I'd love to sweep the rug out from under the Arabs. Okay, Seabung Messiah says, my music recommendation, check out the Gillen album Magic. I'm going to go to the gym today, so maybe I'll check it out. Liam Roddy says NPR's not perfect, but they're better than most mainstream network news. I mean, that's a pretty low bar. Yeah, I like some things on NPR. I mean, I don't like John Gomeshi beating women, but I mean that's a personal issue. A personal issue that seems to affect many like soft-spoken male feminists, that they like become absolute sociopathic monsters in the bedroom. But I digress. Alright, I think that's going to wrap things up for today. So for Larsen Halleck, this has been Larsen Halleck. All of you have a good day.